So once I emerged out of that, I eventually got to the stage to do something that I really wanted to do for a long, long time, and that was to become a writer. I notice quite a lot of women that I speak to often don't become writers till later in their life. And I mean, I had 3 children. I basically waited till they were at the stage that I could actually have some privacy to write. The reading aspect of it, don't know about Nicola, but if I'm in the middle of a book and I write crime fiction, I have a long-running series, A Forensic Scientist, a woman, I find myself unable to read any other books like that. For 2 reasons. One, you don't want to steal their plot. And the second one is, if it's really, really good, all you can think about is how rubbish your book is. You're in the middle of writing, so that's not a good move. But what you can do is to escape out of this world that's going on in your head, these people that are marching around your head, and just walk into another world. So I normally have at least half a dozen books by my bed, and it's about mood. I choose the book that fits my mood at that time, so I'm in the middle of them all. I think if you're going to be a writer, and I believe a reader as well, the most important thing are people, because any book is about character. And people often they talk about crime writing as if it's about the crime. It's never about the crime. It's always about the character. And that's why you can't sustain a series of novels over 13, 14, 15 books unless people are captivated by the characters that walk through the book. Now, I would add into that, it's not just the character, the people character, it's the character of the place. And the books that I write set in Scotland don't all happen in one location. I've lived all over Scotland, so there are books set on the islands, there are books set in the Highlands, there are books set in the cities. Anyway, what happened was I thought, right, okay, who is this person turning up the scene of crime? In what capacity? And I can remember thinking, okay, bear in mind I'm living in Edinburgh, and round the corner from me is Ian Rankin lives. And I thought, well, shall I have a male detective? With angst, and and I thought, but wait a minute, I know somebody's done that so well, how could I even attempt such a thing? And then I had a moment, one of these wonderful moments where I thought, I'll make it a woman. But why is she there? Is she a detective? I thought, wait a minute, I'll make her a forensic scientist. And the wonder of that is, I didn't know anything about it. Nothing about, I probably knew more about the police than I did about forensic science. But if you're a writer and you get a moment like that where a character walks in, and my character, Dr. Rona MacLeod, walked into my life. I mean, I'd never met her before, and there she was. But I also knew someone who was a forensic scientist. So I do believe that Emma Hart was my inspiration. Rona is not Emma, and Emma will tell you that right away, but the inspiration for creating such a character came because I knew Emma, and I admired what she had gone on to do. So that's how it began. Well, Ian Rankin once said, I think at Bloody Scotland, that if you're going to visit a place that you've never been to before, find a crime writer that writes about that place. And you will find you learn a lot more about the country or the location through reading about how they deal with all stratas of society and how the society is structured. And I think that's true if you think of Donna Leone out in Venice. And I mean, it's a wonderful way of getting to know a place. So in this instance, with Rona, I can move about Scotland with her, and I can be in another world. Will Rona and Michael McNabb ever find each other instead of? Oh, I don't know who wrote that, but I don't know. Can I just tell you? I've just been writing them again. The one I'm writing at the moment will come out next July. It's called The Killing Tide, and I both love McNabb, and he drives me nuts. And I have to say that that's what happens with Rona too. And you'll know that if you've read them together. They think they're different, but in fact they have a lot in common, which is probably why they really do watch one another's backs. And she probably confides more in him than she would like to admit. So I don't know. I think I'll have to wait and see what they tell me, because I was trying to explain to my daughter today when we were out a walk with the ducks. You know, I wrote a sentence, and McNabb said to me, "I would never say that." I thought, okay, right, I'll have to rewrite it then. And you'll get writers will tell you that, So he's not told me yet. Let me put it that way. Although I have to say, it's one of these things he often longs for. Yeah. But I think it might be a disaster. Some relationships are a disaster. As any writer will tell you, it's your audience, it's your readers that are the most important. I got a bit of advice when I became a teacher, because it's really scary standing up in front of a whole class of kids. And I actually apply it when I go out and do events as a writer. What you have to remember is it's not about you. It's always about your audience. And I think when you write a book, you should be thinking about the people who are going to read it and what they'll get from it, and the enjoyment. And I think Book Week Scotland, that is so important. Keep the secret as long as possible. Every day now, but I can write anywhere. I live part of the time in Edinburgh and part of the time in the Highlands, and I don't write at a desk. I write sitting on my bed. Yeah, Willie McIlvanny's Laidlaw. I'm a wild swimmer. My home village of Carbridge, the river down the back, has got a great pool in it, but it's always freezing because it's melted snow from Cairngorm. But I love that, yeah. Prevarication, that's my biggest ritual. So answering emails, I always feel, oh yeah, I better do that. My mother was Irish, my father's Scottish. It was a great storytelling tradition. So we were all required always to have a story to tell. I wrote when I was younger. Then I went off to university, did mathematics instead of English. So I came to writing a bit later, full-time writing later in my life. I don't. I write for screen as well. So what happens to me is I get a sort of scene in my head, and if it stays long enough, I think there's a whole story behind it. That's how, and I have no idea. My main character walks on, forensic expert, and I'm investigating the way she's investigating. What does tartan noir mean? I knew you would do that. Well, you're always asked to sort of describe what makes tartan noir, and it makes you think.
Certainly, Scottish crime writing doesn't come out of the classic tradition that English crime writing has as its history. So it really is a bit of a Robert Louis Stevenson, Jekyll and Hyde exercise, that whole thing that we do. But I think that's probably true. We're pretty in your face, but then that's Scotland, I'm sorry.
But I have no idea what's going to happen next. I just hope Rona does. I mean, I seriously do hope that she's going to work it out. But once you get into the world, there's a magic moment in any book where the characters that you have set up or created take over. And it's a magical moment because you don't have to worry about what they're going to do next because they tell you what they're going to do next.